All right, let's talk about the flu. We hear about it every single year. But what if the way we think about it is, well, just plain wrong? What if it's way more than just a bad cold?
Sound familiar? I mean, you've probably heard someone say this. Heck, maybe you've even thought it yourself. It's this super common idea, right? We just kind of write it off as a seasonal thing. But that idea, it's actually one of the most dangerous misconceptions out there.
Because this is what influenza is capable of. 50 million. That's the estimated death toll from the 1918 flu pandemic. So yeah, this is not the common cold. This is a serious, formidable enemy. So, to really get a handle on the risk, we've got to know what we're actually up against. Let's break it down. What is this virus that just keeps coming back?
Okay, so at its heart, the flu is a super contagious respiratory virus. But here's the tricky part. The real key to its success, and the reason it's such a challenge for us, it's always changing. It's constantly evolving. And those little changes, that's exactly why you can get the flu again and again. It's how the virus is always one step ahead of the immunity we built up last year.
Okay, so we've established this is no minor illness. The big question then is who's most at risk? Who really bears the brunt of it when flu season hits?
And while this really paints a picture, especially for older adults, I mean, just look at these numbers from the US. We're talking 70 to 85% of all flu-related deaths, and 50 to 70% of hospitalizations. That is a huge disproportionate impact. It's a crystal clear sign that for this group, the flu is an incredibly serious threat. And part of what makes it so dangerous is that the flu can be a real master of disguise in older adults. You see, they might not get that textbook high fever. Instead, it might just look like they're feeling weak, a general malaise. And they might have more stomach problems, but fewer of those classic symptoms like a sore throat or running nose. And that makes it so much harder to catch it early. And look, when things go bad with the flu, they can go very bad. We're not just talking about feeling awful for a week. This virus can trigger a whole cascade of life-threatening problems: pneumonia, inflammation of the heart, inflammation of the brain, even multi-organ failure and sepsis. This is the real, terrifying face of what severe influenza can do. Okay, that's all pretty scary, I know. But the good news is we are not defenseless, not by a long shot. So let's talk about our single best weapon in this fight, the annual flu vaccine.
First things first, let's bust the biggest myth right out of the gate. No, the flu shot cannot give you the flu. It is scientifically impossible. The vaccine uses a virus that's inactivated. It's not live, so it literally can't infect you. All it's doing is giving your immune system a kind of wanted poster, so it knows what the real enemy looks like.
And here's the other big one you hear all the time. Oh, I'm healthy. I don't need a flu shot. But here's the reality. The flu virus does not care how many miles you run or how many vegetables you eat. It can make anyone seriously ill. That's why the recommendation is so clear. Pretty much everyone from 6 months old and up should get one every year. Okay, so we know the vaccine is our best shield. But for that shield to work as well as it possibly can, timing is absolutely critical. So that leads to the next big question, right? When is the best time to get it? And this timeline lays it out perfectly. It's all about finding that sweet spot. If you get it too early, like back in July or August, your protection might start to wear off before the flu season really gets going. But if you wait too long, you might get sick before the vaccine has had a chance to kick in. That's why there's this optimal window, September and October. That's the target. I love this analogy because it makes so much sense. Think about your immunity from the vaccine like a rechargeable battery. Getting that shot in September or October is like charging it up to 100%. That way, you've got a full charge, maximum power, right when the flu season usually peaks, somewhere between December and February. But let's be real, vaccines aren't 100% foolproof. Sometimes people still get sick. So what happens then? Well, fortunately, we have a plan B. And that's where antiviral drugs come in. Okay, I know this diagram looks a little complicated, but the concept is actually pretty simple. Imagine an infected cell in your body as a factory that the flu virus has taken over, and it's just churning out copies of itself. Now, to make you sicker, those new virus copies have to get out of the factory and go infect other cells. What antiviral drugs do is basically run around and lock all the exit doors. They trap the new viruses inside the cell so they can't spread.
But here's the crucial catch. For these drugs to really work, you have to act fast. They are most effective if you start taking them within the first 48 hours after you feel that first symptom. And it's super important to remember, antibiotics do nothing for the flu. They fight bacteria, not viruses. It's like bringing a fire hose to an electrical fire. Wrong tool for the job.
All right, this brings us to the really big picture. Because we're not just fighting this year's flu, we're actually in a constant, never-ending global race against a virus that refuses to sit still. And that right there is the whole reason we need a new flu vaccine every single year. It's because the virus that's going around this winter is not the exact same one that was going around last winter. It's a constantly moving target, so our shield, the vaccine, has to be updated every year just to keep pace.
And this map? Wow. This gives you a glimpse of the absolutely massive global effort this takes. The World Health Organization coordinates this incredible network of labs all over the planet. They are constantly gathering samples, tracking how the virus is changing, pretty much in real time. It is a non-stop race, 24/7, 365 days a year. And all that work is what tells scientists which strains need to go into the vaccine for the next flu season. But the really big threat, the one that keeps scientists up at night, is something called zoonotic influenza. Zoonotic just means it jumps from an animal to a person. Think bird flu or swine flu. The reason these are so dangerous is that our immune systems have never seen anything like them before. We have zero natural defense. And that means they have the potential to spread like wildfire and cause a global pandemic. Avian flu, or H5N1, is probably the most famous and feared example.
And what's really concerning is that what we're learning about H5N1 is changing. And frankly, some of it is pretty unsettling. We're now finding out that people can be infected without having any symptoms at all. We're seeing that person-to-person spread is probably happening in some cases. And that means our traditional way of tracking the flu, looking for sick people, might be completely missing these silent infections. And that leads us to this really powerful idea from a recent scientific commentary. It points to a critical gap in how we watch for these viruses, and it really forces us to ask a tough question about the future. In this huge global race against the flu, are we even looking in the right places? Are we spending all our time and energy looking for people who are already sick, when maybe we should be looking for the infection itself, silently spreading and hiding before it ever makes someone cough?